is key. We're going to have reporters, though, in the courtroom who we're going to see live tweeting of the testimony, recaps at the end of the day. I mean, Harvey Weinstein, that was a state case, but it was in New York, and New York is limited if any cameras are allowed in the courtroom. So it was the same idea. We didn't get to hear the witnesses on the stand, but we got to hear what they said, through the reporting. And that will be what is happened here. So of course it's maybe not as great for us because, as a viewer, we can't analyze their credibility, let's say, like the juror can, because we can't literally see them testify. We'll be able to hear the content of what they testify. The court may also make public quickly the transcripts of what the witnesses said in order to keep people informed.
The walls are closing in, and this time, the music industry's golden boy is stepping into a courtroom that could change everything. Justin Bieber, once the fresh-faced teen idol mentored by some of the most powerful names in entertainment, is set to testify in May in a case so explosive, insiders say it could send shockwaves far beyond Hollywood. But behind the headlines lies a web of trauma, betrayal, and secrets no one saw coming. Insiders were left stunned when Judge Miriam Calloway announced Bieber would be called to the stand.
That's what happened during the Trump criminal trial. They posted the transcripts fairly quickly. So we will get a sense of what is said, but it does take it away when we don't get to see it in the moment and really honestly decide for ourselves what we think of that witness or that or another witness.
I think is interesting. I don't want to go so far as to speculate because obviously we don't know what the ins and outs of the investigation are. We don't know what kind of or how frequent contacts the federal prosecutors from FDNY are in with the litigators and the attorneys that are handling the case on the civil side. But I don't think it's an unusual practice for criminal investigations to be informed by, sometimes even augmented by, civil litigation and the civil discovery practice. I don't think there's anything inappropriate or unethical about that.
The courtroom fell silent, and sources close to Sean Diddy, Combs said the mogul's demeanor shifted instantly, his trademark cool unraveling. He turned pale, said a courtroom observer. You could tell in that moment something inside him broke.
Those revelations from the discovery process on the civil side can help inform or help guide a criminal investigation or a decision on the prosecution side as to how to proceed or whether to proceed with the prosecution. So it might be a chicken and egg argument. It might be that the civil investigation started first and then was referred to the federal prosecutors or helped inform the federal prosecutors' decision making, or the other way around. It very well could be that the complainants or the would-be plaintiffs on the civil side weren't quite ready to cooperate with the prosecution or to testify before a grand jury and felt more at ease with pursuing a civil remedy first. So we really can't know until the investigation is revealed.
This case, already riddled with layers of scandal, is far more than legal drama. It's about untold stories buried under fame and power. And at the center of it all is Bieber, whose recent social media posts have revealed a man battling invisible demons. Days before the testimony was announced, the 31-year-old singer posted a chilling confession. I feel like a fraud. If people knew my thoughts, how selfish and judgmental I really am, they wouldn't be saying I deserve anything.
Good morning. Justin Bieber has a message for his believers. On social media, he shared a heartbreaking message about feeling unworthy, and fans are showing up in the comments section to support. A source tells People magazine earlier this month Justin is prioritizing working on new music and his family and spending as much time with them as he can. And of course, we wish him the absolute best.
Justin's feed post was all smiles, his Instagram story telling a different one. Earlier in the day, Justin admitted to feeling like he's drowning, struggling with hate. I was always told not to hate, but that made me feel like I wasn't allowed to have it. We can only let hate go by first acknowledging it's there. How couldn't we feel hate from all the hurt we have experienced?
I think it's just my job to be a light.
What's he referring to? Some believe it ties directly into his time under the guidance of Diddy, who now faces allegations from 3 women spanning 2 decades, claims that include manipulation, abuse, and exploitation. It's not just about what happened behind closed doors, says journalist Layla Monroe, who has been covering the case. It's about who knew, who looked away, and who's finally ready to speak.
I think he should keep well, maybe not. He should keep some rope on his soap or make sure he don't drop it in certain places. In case if he do, he might like it. But long story short is that he need to take his counsel advice. Because if he think he's going to get out of this from the federal government, he out his mind. They in the process of plea bargaining, trying to do a plea bargain session with him, and he not taking it. That's probably why one of the lawyers jumped off the case. Remember Benjamin Bradford, his first lawyer with the Cassie situation? He said, give her the $10 million and make this go away, brother.
Enter new key players. One of the alleged victims, only known as Cassie M., claims she once crossed paths with a then-teenage Bieber at a private industry party. He was just a kid, she said in a sealed deposition, but he saw things. We all did. Cassie's testimony is believed to be a major reason Bieber was pulled into the case. His recollections could either verify or contradict critical details. Meanwhile, former security guard Marcus Reed, who worked for Diddy from 2007 to 2013, has come forward anonymously to share what he describes as the stuff that haunts your dreams. According to Reed, Bieber was often invited to after-hour sessions with top producers and artists. Those nights were wild, he said, too wild for a teenager. Sometimes Justin looked like he wanted to run.
He ended up giving her $30 million. He's not taking the lawyer's advice. 9 times out of 10, they probably got him a good plea bargain. Yo, listen to me, we can give you 15 years. 10 or 15 years. You do that, you come out, you only have to do like 12, 13. Come off to a halfway house. You still can live some of your life out as a free man. If you don't believe that they're going to try to hit him with those guns in there, they saving all that for last. The drugs, the guns. They'll do another superseding indictment and add those two if he don't take the plea. If he don't take the plea bargain to the sex trafficking or whatever, stuff like that, they're going to say, okay, let's add the guns to it and let's add the drugs to it.
But the public image and the private pain rarely aligned. On the outside, Bieber kept up appearances, smiling with wife Hailey, posing for photos with their son Jack, even showing up at Disneyland last week with friends like Kid Leroy.
How you feel about Keefe D? He out here crying to come home, man.
Keefe D, I think is a mistravesty of justice that Keefe D is still in jail without a bail, or they're not making his bail low enough for him to go home. For the fact of the matter is that Keefe D was told to say something by an LAPD officer who was writing a book, doing a movie, and making himself rich off of an event.
But fans now look back on his cryptic posts differently. I felt like I lost my purpose, he wrote just days ago, like I wasn't chasing after who I knew I was. Therapist and trauma specialist Dr. Ayanna Ford weighed in on the psychological impact of early fame. When a child is exposed to adult environments and power dynamics too soon, it can lead to deep emotional dissonance. Bieber's recent posts show classic symptoms of survivors' guilt and inner conflict.
That happened in our culture. And that he's in jail because the cops said a lot of these things first, and he just piggybacked on it. But it's going to come out that was the situation and that was the issue. And he's going to walk eventually.
So you really believe that he ain't had nothing to do with Pac murder?
I don't believe Keefe D had anything to do with, it just don't make any sense, brother. It don't make no sense that, what he did and how he did it and how Vegas is at that time, that you could get away with something like that.
And while cameras won't be allowed in the courtroom, the public will be hanging on to every word. Court reporter Dana Levinson confirmed that daily transcripts will be released just hours after each session. It's going to feel like watching a movie unfold piece by piece, she says. Except this isn't fiction. These are real people, real lives, and real consequences. As the court date approaches, pressure mounts, not just on Bieber, but on the entire industry. Rumors swirl that other artists, producers, and execs could be named in related investigations. The question now isn't just what Bieber will say, it's who else might fall when the truth comes out. And maybe the most haunting question of all, did the boy we all watched grow up under the spotlight carry a truth too heavy for one person to bear?
Even Usher, Pat, Usher deleted his Twitter account, deleted it, right? Or took everything down. He deleted a bunch of, I think, 7,000 tweets, and then came back a day later and he put...
Me again?
He wrote, account got hacked, and damn, y'all ran with it. It's not a secret. I'm tired of everybody playing this game, okay?
Well, actually, read the comments on what people said. Let's see what people said, like if they bought it or not.
Okay, yeah.
The old...
Did he hack your book?
The old... The account got attacked and hacked.
That's the first one. Oh, that's security. Keep going, Robbie.
But the public image and the private pain rarely aligned. On the outside, Bieber kept up appearances, smiling with wife Hailey, posing for photos with their son Jack, even showing up at Disneyland last week with friends like Kid Laroi. But fans now look back on his cryptic posts differently. I felt like I lost my purpose, he wrote just days ago, like I wasn't chasing after who I knew I was. Therapist and trauma specialist Dr. Ayanna Ford weighed in on the psychological impact of early fame. When a child is exposed to adult environments and power dynamics too soon, it can lead to deep emotional dissonance. Bieber's recent posts show classic symptoms of survivors' guilt and inner conflict. Adding to the growing tension is Kevin Morales, Bieber's former tour manager, who worked with him from the My World Tour through his Purpose era. He always had this look in his eyes, like he was trying to enjoy the moment but couldn't forget something he'd seen behind the scenes. There were nights on tour when he wouldn't even leave his hotel room. He'd just sit by the window, headphones on, staring into the dark. And then there's...
Like Diddy, he said on Howard Stern, Puffy would have his parents send him to flavor camp at 13 years old. Your parents are sending you to a camp with a grown man, Pat. I know, I'm around you all the time. I know we're your kids, and I know you trust me, and I love you. Would you ever send your 13... Would you send Tico?
Stop it.
Are you freaking nuts? I don't care how famous he is. And in this interview, Rob, you don't have to play. He says, Howard Stern's like, oh, I bet you there was girls and orgies. And he's talking to him as he's 13, and he said, there was very curious things happen. And then you got a video of Usher and Diddy in his bedroom with Kevin Hart, and he's interviewing him. And he said, I would wake up in the morning with... Usher in the morning, and then he catches himself.
Rachel D'Andrea, a childhood friend from Stratford, Ontario, who stayed in touch, with Bieber well into his rise. He told me once, sometimes I wish I never got famous, she recalls. There was this moment when we were both 17, and he said he felt like a puppet, like someone else was pulling the strings. Well,
whatever. That police department specifically said, we looked into it and there was no merit to this situation. So this goes into a different type of level of potential cover-up. That's wild, just based upon these allegations. I'm not saying they're true or not true, but the Contra Police Department said, we did get this allegation, we did look into it, and we discounted it and said there was nothing there. Do you know how strong that is for a police department to come in and say that a rape did not happen when someone says it did? So that's fascinating to me, because usually police departments don't do that.
While cameras won't be allowed in the courtroom, the public will be hanging onto every word. Court reporter Dana Levinson confirmed that daily transcripts will be released just hours after each session. It's going to feel like watching a movie unfold piece by piece, she says. Except this isn't fiction. These are real people, real lives, and real consequences. Behind the scenes, music industry veteran Malik Swerve James
Bieber on social media, his latest social posts, and he has just opened up a little bit more.
He did in a really big way, in a very vulnerable way. Boy, my heart goes out to Justin Bieber. Listen, say what you want. He's such a young kid when he got in this industry, the pressure alone. So he actually posted something very vulnerable about how he feels about himself, about his imposter syndrome. Here's what he had to say. About his health, that maybe he was doing drugs. He even had a rep come out and say he's not doing drugs. And then I personally felt like Justin was throwing shade at people making any comments about his health when he was posting pictures of him and a bong, you know? So at once I thought, you know, oh, he's having kind of fun with the news and everything going on. Now he's getting really, really vulnerable. So, I mean, listen, it does seem like he's been going through some things. He's a new dad. You know, we hear that he's putting out new music and he's been open about his Christian faith. So,
well, you know, it's also when you are a child star, right?
Yeah.
And what you go through, and are you really prepared for that? I think Shawn Mendes has also been very open about his experiences.
James, once a close collaborator of Diddy's, claims the walls are starting to close in. When Justin was first brought into the circle, he was the golden boy, he says. But not all that glitters is clean. If he talks, it won't just shake the courtroom. It'll shake the whole damn foundation. The stakes aren't just personal, they're systemic. Rumors now swirl that other artists, producers, and executives could be named in related investigations. What started as a single testimony might soon become a reckoning. Hailey Bieber, though silent...
And they watched Cassie get abused in front of... Puffy abused Cassie in front of them. And neither one of those men, and they probably security was around too, did nothing to stop what he had did to Cassie. Now that's just crazy right there, bro. That is just crazy. Usher probably got a daughter. Neo probably got kids, I don't know. Jimmy Iovine, you know, he take about 15, 20 scoops of sugar in his coffee. So all those cats there, supposed to be men, watch that lady get abused right there in public, and they did nothing, brother. They did nothing. That goes to show you the power.
On the legal situation has been a steady presence in Justin's life. Friends say she's both his anchor and his shield. She sees him at his most raw, says an anonymous source close to the couple, and she's terrified that going through this will either break him or finally free him. The question now isn't just what Bieber will say, it's who else might fall when the truth comes out, and maybe the most haunting question of all. Did the boy we all watched grow up under the spotlight carry a truth too heavy for one person to bear? But the public image and the private pain rarely aligned. On the outside, Bieber kept up appearances, smiling with wife Hailey, posing for photos with their son Jack, even showing up at Disneyland last week with friends like Kid Leroy.
How you feel about Keefe D? He out here crying to come home, man.
Keefe D, I think is a mistravesty of justice. That Keefe D is still in jail without a bail, or they're not making his bail low enough for him to go home. For the fact of the matter is that Keefe D was told to say something by a LAPD officer who was writing a book, doing a movie, and making himself rich off of an event.
But fans now look back on his cryptic posts differently. I felt like I lost my purpose, he wrote just days ago, like I wasn't chasing after who I knew I was. Therapist and trauma specialist Dr. Ayanna Ford weighed in on the psychological impact of early fame. When a child is exposed to adult environments and power dynamics too soon, it can lead to deep emotional dissonance. Bieber's recent posts show classic symptoms of survivors' guilt and inner conflict.
That happened in our culture. And that he's in jail because the cops said a lot of these things first, and he just piggybacked on it. But it's gonna come out that was the situation and that was the issue. And he's gonna walk eventually.
So you really believe that he ain't had nothing to do with Pac murder?
I don't believe Keefe D had anything to do with. It just don't make any sense, brother. It don't make no sense that, what he did and how he did it and how Vegas is at that time, that you could get away with something like that.
And while cameras won't be allowed in the courtroom, the public will be hanging on to every word. Court reporter Dana Levinson confirmed that daily transcripts will be released just hours after